let's look at weeds today. This may not be the most glamorous video that we have on the Gardening Tutor channel, but it's really going to be helpful, especially if you're a novice garden. How do you know what's a weed, what's not a weed? How do I manage weeds? So we're going to talk about that today, how weeds grow and how to manage some of these weeds. This one right here is called bindweed, and you can identify it from its shovel-shaped leaf. Now, try not to be enamored or charmed by these pretty little flowers, because they are really pretty. But the longer you let bindweed live in your garden, the bigger headache it's going to become. So you're not just cutting these out, you're actually digging them out. And talk about herbicides, products that are supposed to kill weeds, and why you might not want to use those. But right now, let's just look at how bindweed grows. It will climb, it will twine, it will just wrap around your plants like this. It'll just wrap around and around, and it can even pull down some of your plants that are trying to grow 3 or 4 feet tall. If bindweed is climbing in it, it might topple your plant. So it's just really important to get this out. Here's another important part. See this white fuzzy stuff on here? That's powdery mildew. So weeds can, they're not just unsightly. They can encourage fungal spores to grow in your garden and transfer possibly to your other plants. And they can also attract insects that are not good for your other plants. So keeping your garden free of weeds is the intention, so that you're not bringing undesirables to your garden. So I'm going to go ahead and dig this up, and let's see what type of root system it has. Be careful you don't go through your irrigation when you're digging. Now, I don't know if you heard that pop, but it just made a pop sound, and that means that I've left some of the root in the soil. So it's probably going to keep on regrowing here. But look at this. Oh my gosh. Oh, isn't that scary? Look at that. And look at how prolific they are. You know, there's a saying, if it's easy to pull out, it's one of your desirable plants, and if it's hard to pull out, it's probably a weed. But anyway, here, look at that root system. So these, and look, I cut it off there. That means that there's still some in the soil, and it's just going to do this and regrow. So pulling early and pulling often is going to be the trick to getting ahead of controlling this bindweed. So remember, I know this is a pretty flower, but you could grow morning glories and have even prettier flowers that are similar. But for each of these flowers, look what's going to happen. You're going to get these seed heads. If we cut this open, there's probably a whole bunch of seeds inside of there. So it's spreading underground, it's twining inside your plants, and it's going to seed. Scary. Pull early. Pull often. Try to pull them when they're young and not mature like this. Oh, look how pretty and green these bindweed are. Of course you're going to think, oh, how pretty, I'm going to leave that there. But remember, it goes to seed and it spreads underground. So get it out of there. Just wanted to show you the juvenile growth, though. This is before it's flowered and before it's gone to seed. Now we're going to talk about Bermuda grass and how it grows and spreads. Here is the flower of the Bermuda grass, and it's full of pollen, and this is one of the highest pollen aggravators for people, is Bermuda grass pollen. Hopefully you're going to pull your Bermuda grass long before it goes to flower like this, and it's going to go to seed. So it spreads by seed, and it also spreads by the growth here. I'll cut this out. Everywhere there's a node, everywhere there's a bump on the stem, it has the potential to root in each of these spots. And we'll try to find some that has rooted so that you'll see what I mean. Okay, so It spreads by seed, it spreads by above ground growth, and it spreads below ground. So let's dig this up. And be careful when you're digging. Now you can dig down several feet and not get all of your Bermuda grass roots. It's a really tough weed to manage. This is the bindweed. We're going to take that out. Oh, look. So we have all these fibrous roots, and then we have the roots that will root at each node, so it's spreading that way. You see under here, see each bump, each node on the stem has rooted underground. And if you pull this out and you leave this much in there, then you're going to get 2 or more brand new plants coming up from these roots. And remember, I said these roots can go 4, 5, 6 feet deep. And Bermuda grass is dormant in the winter, so one of the best times to pull your Bermuda grass is just in the spring. When you start to see the new ones come up, it'll pull easier. It'll also pull out easier if you mulch heavily, and so you'd have 3 or 4 inches of a layer of mulch on top of the soil, and that'll help when you go to pull these out. They'll pull out easier. Here's another weed in the demonstration garden, and it's so easy to say, oh, it's such a pretty flower, I think I'll leave it. But oh, if you leave this flower right here, it's going to go to seed. This one's already starting to go to seed, and you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of seeds, and then you're going to have hundreds and hundreds of these weeds next year. Weed seeds can stay dormant for 100 years till they get exactly what they need, and then they'll germinate. So there's a saying, 1 year of seeds, 7 years of weeds. So that's why I'm doing this video for you today, trying to help you out. Now, I want to see if this is a taproot. I'm hoping that this particular weed has a taproot, so I'm using a really long shovel to see if I can get the entire taproot out so we can see it. I don't know, it's pretty deep in there. If it is a taproot and you don't get the entire taproot out, this is probably a weed that also grows from that taproot. But I could be wrong. It could be fibrous roots. Let's see. Ah, good. Let's move over here to this pile so you can see it a little better. So as you can see, this is a weed that has a taproot. And dandelions also have taproots. So you can also see here, I didn't get the entire taproot. So it's probably a perennial weed that's going to grow again from that taproot. Do you always get the entire taproot? No. But if you start pulling weeds early and often, you're not going to let it grow as much as I did this one. And so you're going to be ahead of the game. Also, when you're weeding, make sure you wear really good gloves, leather gloves or the rubber gloves. The leather gloves even better on this one because can you see all these thorns, all this prickly stuff that's on the leaves? Ouch, that would really hurt. So sometimes people take a weed like this or a dandelion and they pull it out of the ground and then they just throw it in the pathway and they say, oh, I'll clean it up later, or oh, it'll biodegrade. Let me show you next what happens if you take plants like this. Hang on, let me show you. If you take plants like this that have these pretty little flowers that are going to go to seed, if you take it at this point and you just throw it on your path, I'm going to show you what happens. This is what's going to happen if you just pull your weeds and leave them sit on the pathway. They're going to go to seed, whether they're growing in the ground or not. Isn't that scary? Oh my gosh. So here they're going to seed. This is a different weed, similar but different than that last one I showed you with the taproot. But you see all that feathery stuff? Ooh, those are seeds. This is how you get, say you buy mulch, you have a big pile of mulch like this that we're sitting on right here with the weed, and you buy a bunch of this and you leave it sit in your driveway and you don't get to it right away to spread it in your garden, and then you spread it in your garden and a bunch of these weeds come up. It's not because the producer had weed seeds in the mulch. It's because it sat out and the weed seeds blew through the air and landed on your mulch pile. So always cover your mulch pile if you're not going to spread it right away. Here's another thing to see. See that powdery mildew again on the leaf and on the stem. See the white powdery mildew? And that can spread to your other plants. So get those weeds out of the garden. This is another weed in the demonstration garden. This is a type of Oxalis. It's horribly invasive, and when the flowers come out, they're yellow, and people think, oh, they're so pretty, but they're just spreading and spreading. And I want to show you underground how they're spreading by what's called corms, little clusters of nodules. Instead of a taproot, they've got these little see this? Look what you're dealing with when you're trying to eradicate these from your garden. They're little bulbets. They're called corms. See that? Each one. So if you just come along and you think, oh, I'll weed this, and you just go like this, and you just pull the tops off like that, and you don't have the corms on the end like this, you've basically given the signal to the corm to get larger and spread more. So try to dig them up. You won't get them all, but at least you'll, ooh, look at this one. At least you'll get, I mean, I always have these in the demonstration garden. It's something I have to manage. Weeds are something you have to manage in the garden. And I just try to get the most I can of the corms when I pull these up. Here's the last little weed we're going to show you today, because we could put on videos that are hours long just talking about weeds. But I'm hoping to show you with this weed what the root system is like, and also to show you these seed. These are the seed heads. Let's cut this open and see how much is going on in here. I want to cut it lengthwise. Hang on. It's not working out very well. If these are a little drier, you'd see. But see the white, the little white. Those are the immature seeds, and each one of these is filled with hundreds of them. So that's why weeding early and weeding often, people tend to let their weeds go too long. They've flowered and they've already gone to seed, and then you just have years and years of the seeds going over and over their bloom, seed, and grow cycle. I want to dig this up and see if we have what's called fibrous roots, because we just talked about tap roots. So this would be considered fibrous roots. See how there's just lots and lots of skinny little roots? So these are fibrous roots. So basically this one spreads by blooming, going to seed, and then regrowing new plants. One thing to remember is to wear goggles when you're gardening. These are awesome goggles. They're clear. The nose is really soft. Around the ears is really soft. I can wear these 8 or 9 hours in a day and not have them put cuts on my face. But there's one of the reasons is anytime I'm weeding, I tend to get dirt in my eye if I don't wear my goggles. But there's another weed that looks similar to this, and when you touch it, you may have experienced this before, when you touch it, the seed actually pops. We call it little pocket rockets. They shoot off and they can go right into your eye. So, as always with the Gardening Tutor videos, safety first. Please like our videos and come back often.